England were so close to getting knocked out of the Euros by Slovakia. It was Jude Bellingham's amazing bicycle kick that saved the day for us. Well, we are now playing Switzerland in the quarterfinals, and Reese, we're going to preview the game, but how are you feeling ahead of it?
It's a weird one because if I would have told you before the tournament started, if I told you a month ago we'd be in the European Championship quarterfinal and we'd have Switzerland to play, and we're not going to face Spain or Germany or Portugal or France until the final, you'd bite my hand off. You say, what an opportunity this is. We'd be massive favourites to get through to the final. The problem is that formational wise, we're terrible. Tactics wise, we're terrible. We haven't got the right players in the right position, and there really is a really dark cloud over this England side at the moment under Southgate. I can't find a reason to be positive. You look back at the game against Slovakia, and there was a moment of magic, really, from Jude Bellingham that saved us there. We deserved to go out. We should have gone out that night.
And it's worth noting that this will be Gareth Southgate's 100th game in charge of England, making him only the third manager to ever do that for England as well. And Gareth Southgate is also considering a major tactical shift, moving to three at the back for the first time since the Euro 2020 final. So we'll go into that in a bit more detail in a bit. John Stones, Ezri Konsa, and Kyle Walker could possibly be the centre-backs. But do you feel that this is an appropriate time for England to change formations?
It's an absolute joke, to be honest. This is the quarter-final of a major championships, and here we are experimenting with Trent in the number 8. And now we're experimenting with our formation. This isn't the time to be doing this. We had the friendlies before this tournament started. We had the group stage. If we'd have attacked that first game, we could have guaranteed a spot in the next round. We could have used the third game of the group to experiment. This isn't the time to. I know from the outside, you look at Switzerland and you go, there aren't many superstars in this team. It's a game we are heavily favourites for. We should progress on paper. But they've looked tactically very, very good this tournament. They are a very, very good side. And if we're not careful, they will punish us. If we give chances away like we have in this tournament so far, if we're so sloppy, that was something that really stuck in my mind about that Slovakia game, was how sloppy we were, how many times we gave the ball away. Are we saying that Switzerland are such an attacking threat that we need to go back to a back three or a back five, whichever way you see it? No, surely we don't. I've said it once, I'll say it again. Declan Rice is more than capable of playing that CDM role by himself to bring another player forwards. I don't understand why we seem to be going backwards. This isn't the time for experiments. This is the time for the final product.
And the only issue that I have is that, barely any of these players, and we were talking about this before we came on air actually, barely any of these players have actually played with three at the back for their club sides. So for Southgate to do that in a quarter-final at such a big tournament might prove to be quite a rash decision as well. Like, I know for a fact that Steve Holland probably hasn't been drilling his team, Southgate side, to be playing that kind of formation during training. So I reckon it would be a massive risk for us to go for three at the back and to make too many tactical changes as well. And those aren't the only tactical changes that could potentially be happening as well. Southgate aims to play both Jude Bellingham and Phil Foden in central number 10 roles as well, behind Harry Kane. Now, Reese, for all of those English people listening to this preview, how bad does it feel to say that Eni Aluko was right?
I want to see Foden in that 10. I'm part of that fan club. I want to see Bellingham in the 10 and trust that Rice can deal with it.
I take back my words, but look, it's not going to happen. I can't see a situation where we play both Bellingham and Foden at number 10. I'll die on the hill that Jude Bellingham is the best number 8 in world football. If you want the best from Bellingham, you've got to play him alongside Rice with the ability to go box to box. That's where he shines. That's how he scored his header. That's not a coincidence within the way that he plays. And I understand to a point that you want Bellingham as high up the field as you can. You want him influencing the attack and play as much as he can. But we saw so many times throughout this tournament that when you play too many players in that one sort of position, that one sort of area of the pitch, it gets too congested. Look at how many times Harry Kane drops back. That then doesn't allow the likes of Rice and Foden to actually get on the ball and control the dictate of play. And we're putting 3 players in a really tight position again. This isn't the time to be experimenting. The formation isn't really the problem. It's more the tactical point of view. And if we go to a back 3 stroke back 5, who's going to play left wing back? I think that's a really good debate to be having, because I wouldn't be playing Saka there. I don't think he's quite there defensively. I know he's played at left back before in his early career and he can do it, but there's a lot to be asked from a left wing back. And it's a massive job when Luke Shaw isn't fit to play. Why was he even selected for this squad?
And again, like Shaw as Trippier as well, sorry. He was also a player who coming into this tournament has barely had any football as well. Like the last time he had played club football before England was in February. So, like it's been obvious as well that he's been painfully unfit as well. And, like I wish that was something that Southgate prepared before the tournament as well. And it seems as though we mention this every single week, but like we barely have any fit wing backs besides Kyle Walker. And like we do have some brilliant wing backs in the England setup as well who haven't been brought to the Euros, the likes of Ben Chilwell, for example. So like Gareth Southgate's selection as well has been absolutely baffling. And I think the point that you just brought up then is kind of like an example of that as well. And again, these are all kind of like rumors circulating social media at the moment that have kind of like been brought to the attention by journalists as well. But Declan Rice is set, so he is a player who is guaranteed to start on Saturday against Switzerland, as we would expect. But his partner is allegedly undecided. Options include the likes of Kobbie Mainoo or Conor Gallagher in a defensive role. So before I do go to you, Reese, Kobbie Mainoo is obviously a brilliant youngster, but I don't think he's there yet. He's not a player who is particularly defensive, and he really needs to be partnered with somebody who can protect him, somebody who can do the defensive duties for him, allowing him to be more free. And I don't really think with Declan Rice anyway that we have those options. And a midfield partnership, and I know we had a preview of that last time out, and Kobbie Mainoo didn't play badly at all. But I don't think the Declan Rice and Kobbie Mainoo partnership is necessarily what we are looking for. So for me, Conor Gallagher has to start in that role. But Reese, who would you pick? Kobbie Mainoo or Conor Gallagher?
As long as it's not Trent, I'm happy to an extent with either. But out of the two, it's got to be Conor Gallagher. You notice it when he comes off the bench, his tenacity, his willingness to win a tackle. Yes, okay, he can commit the odd foul and get booked, but at least he shows that desire, that heart to make a challenge, that bite in midfield. That's what you're going to need in a tournament to actually progress. Now, I've come on here before and I've sung how highly I really rate Kobbie Mainoo, but there's a big gap between club football and tournament, international, European Championship, quarter-final football. The problem is that there's a lot of expectation going into this game, and that's a lot to put on a young man's shoulders. Not only are we in a favourable quarter-final match, we're in prime position to make the final. If we do not make the final of this tournament, I want to go as far as saying it's a disgrace, but I know we could face Netherlands in the semi-final. So to put all that onto Kobbie Mainoo when he's so defensively liable against a team that can exploit that is a massive risk and one that I wouldn't be taken. But a point I'd like to raise, and I don't understand why they do it. Why do the press and these other in-the-know outlets, why do they release team news days in advance? That's only ever going to suit the opposition. We're now on Thursday. The game's until Saturday. They've now got an extra 2 days to know exactly how we're going to line up. If we do go with that back three, which I wouldn't go with, I don't understand why we almost self-sabotage.
Yeah, and like the issue that I have is that again, like I don't think he should be making too many changes because I don't think it's really the appropriate time to be making them. And Southgate, regardless of how you look at this, in my opinion, the next couple of games, if we do get through this game, and I'll go on about that in a bit more detail in a bit, the next few games could be a very slow, painful death for Southgate's England tenure. Because, like on Saturday, I can't see us playing any different than we played against Slovakia. Even if we do change formations, play both Bellingham and Foden in number 10 roles, I can't see us playing any different at all, just because of how defensively inclined Southgate is. Now, Switzerland are a very good team. They're not like Slovakia, where they're just, again, going to play well, but we know Slovakia, they haven't got as much quality as Switzerland. So Switzerland are going to be a very tough game. And personally, I can easily see us getting knocked out by Switzerland just because of the quality that they have, how they play, and the teams they've beaten so far, like Italy, for example, who are like a very similar team to where we are at the moment. So yeah, I do see, if we do get through Switzerland, which will be very, very unlikely, because Switzerland have got some absolutely brilliant worldly players in their ranks at the moment. If we do get through, then I can see whoever we play in the next round of the tournament, I can see it being a very slow, painful death for Gareth Southgate, who could potentially end up playing either the Netherlands or Turkey. So yeah, it can be very interesting indeed. But anyway, before we do sign off here, how do you see our game against Switzerland going?
I think it's a pretty easy one to predict, and we can predict every single game under Gareth Southgate exactly how it's going to go. We know we're going to start really well. We'll start bright. We'll start on the front foot. We'll miss a few golden chances. We'll take that for granted. We'll go 1-0 down, and then we'll struggle for the rest of the game. All the vice versa is that we actually score early on, but then we'll go defensive, and it will cost us at the end. I have no faith in Gareth Southgate in terms of being able to kill a team off. We haven't done that once yet in this tournament. There's only been one game where we've managed to score over one goal, and that's not one that I really count, because that was obviously the one against Slovakia where it got taken to extra time. We've played sides that we really should be scoring 3 or 4 goals past, yet in front of goal, we're awful. Tactically, we're naive, and that's probably the best word to describe Southgate. You look at the tournament and the way it's panned out, for any half-decent manager, this England team gets to the final of the Euros. It's as simple as that for me. And I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying make 10 changes. That's a ridiculous thing to say. What I'm saying is keep to the 4-2-3-1, move Bellingham back beside Rice, put Foden in the 10, and put Palmer on the left. The difference that would make to this side would be immense. You've got to throw these players in. And I know we were talking about the debate between Adam Wharton and Kobe Mainoo. We're, of course, forgetting about Adam Wharton. How does he fit into all this?
And personally, I think it's as simple as just play your best players in their favoured position. And, that might mean leaving out a Phil Foden, for example. But, these things have to happen. And at the moment, I don't think we're going to get anywhere of playing players out of their prime position and making them uncomfortable. There have been rumours circulating online that Bukayo Saka could play a left wing-back role more prominently, whether it's in the second half of England games or from the start of England games. And, even that I can't see working, because, the Euros isn't or shouldn't be a time for Gareth Southgate to experiment. This experimentation should have come far earlier during the Nations League, or during a time when Gareth Southgate could afford to do so. But to do so now in the Euros during a massive tournament, it just screams of incompetence and screams of a manager who doesn't know his strongest starting lineup and who can't get a key out of some world-class players as well. And again, I do think, and I've said this every week, that the Gareth Southgate experiment, whatever you call it, should end after the Euros. He should leave regardless. And again, I agree with every point that you've made. In our next game against Switzerland, I see us winning, but I see it potentially being a very tough game where we potentially win by penalties as well. And unfortunately, we've seen this far too often with England, where we get to the semi-finals of a tournament, the finals of a tournament, just through sheer luck, really. And we're lucky with the draw that we've had, the fact that we haven't played the likes of France and Germany. Germany, they're on a roll, But France, they're a team similar to us where they're not playing their best football as well. So it is worth keeping in mind that we're not the only big team in the Euros. We've seen this with Portugal as well, who aren't firing on all cylinders. But anyway, that just about wraps up the preview. Again, the game is at 5 o'clock on Saturday, 5 o'clock UK time, by the way, in case you're watching overseas. And the venue is Dusseldorf as well. So you can follow the game on Glory Hunters as well, as I'm sure there'll be a live stream. Or if you want to follow, then this is the worst outro ever. Simply ignore what I'm saying. I'm going to try and edit this, leaving a bit of silence. You can follow the game on the Glory Hunters social media outlets as well. And of course, you can find us on social media as well. I am on Twitter at @OTB_Benjamin. And where are you on social media, Reese?
So I'm on X, Twitter. It's Twitter, let's be honest, at ReeseCurtis14.
And you can also find us on Over the Bar doing the Football League Weekly as well. We should be starting that back up again soon. So thank you very much for watching. And fingers crossed we score a couple of goals and we win. But I am feeling a little pessimistic.